Hey everybody, 10 years ago I built my first woodworking project. It was a king-size bed frame for my wife and I. Well, it's time to do it again. So there's a million different ways to make beds. You can be super complicated with storage, drawers, crazy headboard, the lights and those kind of things. What we're doing this time is something super easy. We're actually going to make a bed frame that is covered in fabric. So the woodworking for this project is super simple. First thing I have to do is cut some 2x8s for the bed rails. To cut the bed rails, all I'm using is a speed square and a measuring tape and a pen and my circular saw. I don't have a miter saw station. This is a great way to get around that. No special tools. You can actually use the hand saw in the same way. All you do is measure it, line this up where you need to go, make the cut, done. So after I cut everything, brought it inside, mainly because for one, it's hot outside, but two, with the dust and everything in my shop, I didn't want to ruin the fabric that we are using for the bed. Before I brought everything inside, I did go over with just light sandpaper just to get off any rough edges. Now, in order to put fabric on a bed rail, you don't really want to just add this to the wood because one, it won't look very good and you might snag it. So you have to add a few things. So first thing we have to add is some batting, and this just gives it a little bit of cushion. So one, if you run up against it in the middle of the night, you don't ruin your leg. And it just adds a little bit of, I think, a little bit of softness to the bed. For the batting and the scrim, we added a couple of inches on each side and the front and back to make sure we had enough to wrap around the wood so that we could use a staple gun to attach it. And then the ends, we just folded up like packages. And then the other thing is scrim. Now this will cover the batting to attach it to the wood. This is what it should look like when you're all done with the 4 bed rails. So it took a couple hours to get the batten and the scrim attached to the bed rails. Now we're going to be using upholstery fabric. A few reasons why we chose upholstery fabric. One, at our fabric store, the pieces were wider on the roll. So upholstery fabric can be used for outdoor furniture, for sofas, for anything big like that. So we were able to get 54-inch pieces width-wise, and we got 6 yards of this stuff so that we can do all the rails and the headboard. We're doing a king-size bed. Same methodology, cutting them into strips, attaching them with the staple gun. Let's do it. We folded the upholstery fabric back on itself so that when we stapled it, it would actually go through 2 layers of the fabric and give it a better hold. Next step was to attach the mounting hardware. Then it was attaching the support for the bed slats. Pretty easy installation. We just made sure we pre-drilled everything so we didn't split any of the wood. Made sure the screws had no chance of popping through the other side. Well, like everything in life, it seems like sometimes things just don't work out the way you had planned. Off camera, after we attached the bed rails, me and my wife tried to put everything together and get the frame actually attached. And we realized really quickly these bed frame attachment clamps weren't going to work. The reason why we think is because when you add batting, quilting, and fabric all to the ends of your rails, you obviously add thickness. We thought we could squeeze that thickness in with some clamps to get everything lined up, but we just couldn't do it. So time to make my first trip of many, probably to the big box store to see if I can find some L brackets or steel brackets or something to get this thing together. Ended up buying steel L brackets that worked out great. After the L brackets were installed, next was to cut all of the bed slats. I decided on 2x3 lumber because we weren't using a box spring. Brought all the wood inside and decided to put all of the bed slats on the end. With a king size bed, we didn't want to have to worry about any kind of sag. Next is just pre-drilling and screwing all of the slats into the bed support. And adding some supports in the middle. If there is a downfall to doing it this way, this bed frame is really heavy. So the final piece to this puzzle is to attach these legs, which we got at the big box store, to the bottom of the frame. Now I know I can make my own legs. Sometimes you just don't want to do it. You want to make it done. You want to get it done quickly. Your wife wants you to get it done quickly. So what we have to do for this, we have to kind of modify things a little bit. Just need to add a block and add this mount. Screw that on. We're done. The next step was building the headboard, which was built out of 2x4 lumber, plywood, and memory foam. We wanted a memory foam core so that we could lean up against the headboard to read a book, watch television, and it would be comfortable, it would be soft, and it worked out great. First step was just to cut the plywood to size. Next, just to cut the 2x4s. The headboard's going to be bolted to the back of the frame, but we also wanted some support on the ground. We wanted to picture frame the memory foam in so that there would be a rigid frame around the outside. I did have to take some wood into the shop to use on the table saw. If you wanted to do this without a table saw, most lumber stores do have 2x2 material. Next, just attaching everything. Did not use any glue, just screws. Next was to install the memory foam. Just cut it to size. Then use heavy duty contact spray. This was actually one of the most nerve-wracking parts of this whole operation and this whole project, because once you get started, you cannot stop. Got it into place. Luckily it landed where I needed it to. Went into the frame just fine. After I finished building the frame outside, brought it inside and did the exact same process. Didn't film it because, again, exact same process. Wrapped the whole thing in the scrim and then went over it with the upholstery fabric, pulled it around the back, and used the stapler to staple it. And it looks great. Really excited how it came out. One of the cool things is you can't tell between the wood and the memory foam. Last thing to do was to add some furniture nails to the headboard just for a decorative touch. Measured in 1 inch on each side. Secured my ruler, and then every 1/2 inch pushed in a furniture nail. My fingers hurt for days after doing this. We'd get them started with just finger pressure, and go back with a hammer and knock them all into place. They aren't all perfect, but overall it looks really good. Last thing to do was to install the headboard using some bolts, bolt it to the back of the frame, and this bed is done. So a year has passed since we actually finished building the bed. And one reason why we haven't finished the video is because we wanted to paint the walls, do the ceiling, there were some projects that we wanted to finish before we showed off the finished products. So this is a year later. This bed still works. It looks amazing. It's exactly what we wanted. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found some helpful tips. The memory foam still holds its shape. You cannot tell the difference between the memory foam and the wood frame. And we love it. It's easy to read in. It's easy to sit back against and watch TV. The bed is awesome and we love it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.